Welcome to this week's edition of the vlog on I don't really know what I'm doing. I started making new things during the quarantine time, the self-isolation time. And I've gotten to a point where I really enjoy doing them, but I know that I've been doing them long enough that I don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm kind of waiting for the weather to improve for some things, and other things it's just using up the things I have at home. So the first thing I wanted to show you that I started working on getting more house plants because I missed gardening over the winter. And right before the COVID-19 stay-at-home orders came, I found this lovely plant on clearance for $1. I believe it's a Kalanchoe, but you see, because it says that on there, and I don't know what I'm doing. I need to transplant it, but it's too cold. My potting soil is still in the garage, and for a while it was actually frozen. I can't go to the store and order the right pot for it, so here it sits in its plastic container waiting. Don't really know how to take care of it. I know it's a succulent. I know you water it when it gets dry, but I have more plants. This is just representing the whole, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got some pothos and I have some other succulents. I have a mini rubber tree and a buttonhole begonia. My friend gave me some cuttings on that. So over winter they've been doing well at my office, but I had to bring them home and I don't have a lot of good sunlight and I'm just experimenting. But I really need to repot them and I don't know what I'm doing with repotting them. I'm just going to pop them out. And, I do some outside gardening with perennials, so just going to jump into the deep end of the pool on it, right? But it's got to be warm enough. It's been incredibly cold. So the next thing that I want to show you that I don't know what I'm doing is I'm making a t-shirt quilt. I've made a grand total of 2 of these in my 20 plus years of quilting. So I framed them all and I want to put them in a real modern asymmetrical setting. And I've got lots of fabric and I do improv quilting. I'm going to show you I did use a fusible interfacing. It's a Pellon. I don't really know what kind. And I just sewed them together, did my best to center them. Some t-shirts are printed crooked. I don't really know what I'm doing with this. I'm just going to keep sticking it on the design wall and playing around with it. And I've been distracted by making masks for people and for work. And I'm just going to keep working on it until it looks good on the wall. And I'm going to fill in gaps with the fabric I've used for the sashing. And I've got other just plain t-shirt fabric. I'm going to cut apart a logo and just try to make it look cool. Don't really know what I'm doing. I'm in that part of the design process, if you've ever done improv, where you just kind of get overwhelmed with all the choices and options and you have a vision, but maybe it's not quite looking like what your vision is. Well, that's where I'm at. I don't know what I'm doing with the t-shirt quilt. Yeah, it's for a graduate. I feel so bad. There's no graduations in Michigan. The next thing that I'm doing is my Dear Jane. I'm still working on it, but I have skipped all of the blocks that have partial seams or Y seams. I'm going to do this one. I've done it once or twice again in my quilting career, so to speak, and I'm going to figure out how to do it. I know you sew, I think, within a 1/4 inch of the end, then you put the next piece on, and then you because that's why it's partial seam, you only partially sew it, then join the next pieces on. But I'm kind of afraid because I've had them buckle and pucker on me before, and just going to do the best I can do on that because there's a lot of Y seams and partial seams in the Dear Jane, and I feel like I'm getting there on the applique part. I didn't bring this week's block with me because it's not 100%, fantastico. But I'm learning. So because the pieces are so small, My friend gave me a lot of tips before she passed away, and one of her tips for applique was that she put this kind of interfacing on all of her applique pieces. But you know, Dear Jane, we're looking at, you know, some applique pieces are this small or smaller, and I'm using glue stick, a washable children's glue stick, and gluing them on the small background, and then I am doing a very small applique stitch, and I'm matching the thread. I never paid attention to matching the thread, and I'm figuring out that's part of the whole problem. I need to match the thread. And the other tip of using the interfacing is good, because she left me an entire quilt that she had fused but not stitched. It's a Christmas quilt, and I can see why you would do that. As you especially do layers, it'll keep everything flat and from bunching up when you have sharp points. So that's what I've learned for the Dear Jane. But the next thing, besides the plants and the quilt that I'm kind of stuck on, and I've been plugging away at Dear Jane, is making an art journal. This has actually turned into a COVID journal. I'm doing a word journal that's very private on something that people won't read, and just documenting what's happening and my feelings about it. But I'm getting to a point where I think I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm just kind of doing weekly summaries until we are out of this phase of being home so much. It's getting a little bit better. There are some things that are opening up, but this is an art journal. And so the first page is blank because I didn't know what I was doing. And I think I'm going to name it COVID Diaries, or my COVID art journal. I may have shown parts of this before, but I have, wait, I think yeah, it's upside down, sorry. But I may put a page, because this is the inside front cover, I may put something in here to name it more the COVID art journal. And in here, these are all experiments with things in my house. And it says art journal. So I may put COVID here. That's what I was talking about. So let me show you some of the more recent things I've done. And I certainly don't know what I'm doing. You can see, you're like, why did you do some of the things you do? Because I thought it was going to look good, and some of it didn't. Like, this hexagons are made out of art paper that I used water-soluble kids markers and then splashed color on them. I like the Wise Old Owl is one of those little tags that came with a figurine I bought. A little saying about a little wise owl came my way. He was wearing an acorn hat, and this he did say: always count your blessing, always be kind to, always know you have a friend, and always know you're special too. And it's by A.S. Waldrop. I thought that was adorable. I found this in a coloring book and thought it, it was a great thing. This is something I made as an experiment out of a paper, and I thought it looked like a feather, so I'm sticking it into the owl, and I splashed water on the watercolor soluble markers there. I thought it looked pretty cool, but then I tried to make a flower out of lint that I bought. That didn't go so well, and I thought the hexagon sparkles would add to it, and they don't. They kind of are distractors, but you know what? I'm leaving them there because this is also just a journey of my abilities and my thinking, and it's all right. And I like how you can take some things on and off the page, but I don't really know what I'm doing because I never took art classes. This one was a page where I did Zentangle on a I have watercolor paints, and you can see I did a 2-page layout for that. That's a little bit older. Same with just doing Zentangles on a page. I love Zentangle, the meditative qualities and anti-anxiety properties. So this is what I worked on this week. This is not finished. This kind of has a phases of the moon, Jack and the Beanstalk. I was playing around with the watercolor, water-soluble markers again. And then I had this experiment from my Cricut, and I used fabric paints that I have, and then squeezed some of the paint from this page to this page when it was wet. I don't know. I just thought this might be kind of psychedelic gardening, dreaming of gardening. I found an old cookbook that had some cute little graphics. That's where this came from. And I thought, this is not done. I need to do something else with the ground. Like maybe I'll do like a farmer with rows that are plowed or something with a pencil. Not finished, not sure. The phases of the moon thing I thought were kind of interesting with cutout circles they had from leftover from another project. And then the other thing I have worked on today is this is part of the applique that I just did actually for Dear Jane. And this is the line drawing printout. And I cut out one of the orange peels and one of the corners. And you can see that, I need to glue that down. But I thought, isn't this cute? This little kettle, it's from the cookbook. And I thought, it looks like magic with all of the steam coming out, and then the watercolor, water-soluble marker made like a watercolor look. And that was today. So this one may be pretty much done. I may put some words down here. I'm not sure. Under pressure, boom. I don't know. It's kind of how I've been feeling, a little bit pressure and trying to get everything done, get all the masks done, get